السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
Inshallah, this video is going to be an exciting one. We are here to make an episode out of the most commonly asked questions about Qari brothers, our lifestyle, our journey through memorizing the Quran, and some personal stuff, inshallah. So this is going to be like more of interviewing each other, but on your behalf. This is going to cover most of the questions you've probably asked about us, and yeah, we are going to make it in a form of an interview, so you get to hear on like our perspective, each one of us. So before we get into the main content, we would like to implore you to subscribe, comment, and share, so whenever we post a video you'll be notified, inshallah. So yeah, let's jump right into it. You may begin.
Okay. I think one more thing we would like to add is that we are going to be answering the same questions. When a question is asked, we are going to give our perspective on what we make of it, inshallah. So the first question I have with me happens to be one of the most commonly asked, as you mentioned earlier. Who taught you guys the Quran? Or where did you guys learn the Quran from?
I think throughout my journey in memorizing the Quran, a lot of people have had a hand in a way or the other. So I would be an ingrate to say one person, but mainly I'll give the credit to my parents, especially my mom. She was very tremendous, like she was a centrality in my journey to becoming a hafiz. So yeah, I think it's my mother mainly, but every now and then I've had people like help me in a way or two.
Yeah, for me, just as you mentioned, I think a couple of people have had a hand in my journey through the memorization of the Quran. Maybe some of whom we might not be able to even remember, but like mainly I would say my mother too, because for me I was asked to go back to Halaqa where they memorized the Quran. A group of students memorized the Quran when I was in Surah Ali Imran. So, and I think the papers for which I was sent there was for certification reasons. So when I complete the Quran, I would be certified. I would be given a certificate as a Hafidhul Quran. So I would say 90% of the credits goes to her, and the rest of the 10% Allah knows who it goes to. So I would say mainly it's my mother too. Even my father too did well, because there were times he asked you to go read and all of that. I think it's all part of the reasons why we were able to memorize the Quran. So we would like to include both of them, but majority of the percentage goes to
Okay, terrific. Well, with this question, I don't know if it is politically correct to say, but which part of the Quran was difficult for you, like as far as memorization is concerned? When you were memorizing, which part of the Quran was difficult and which one was easy? In other words, what is your favorite part of the Quran and your least favorite?
Well, to single out a particular chapter or a juz saying that that's my favorite, I think it wouldn't sound correct, because the Quran in its entirety is a word of God, and every single chapter of it, it's our favorite because it contains information that's of value to us. So for me, I would say the entire Quran is my favorite, but talking about which part of it was difficult in terms of memorizing and which one was easy, I would say Surah Safat was very difficult. Oh, wow. Surah Safat was difficult. I don't know if I can mention a couple, but Surah Safat, and then Surah Yunus. I think Surah Yunus was difficult for me to some extent. But like the most easy for me, I would say, was Surah Al-Tawbah. Surah Al-Tawbah, Surah Al-Furqan. These two chapters were that much easy for me.
Very good. So for me, I think my favorite, I'll start with the favorite one. My favorite chapter in the Quran is
You mean the one which was easy for you to memorize?
Not particularly, but yeah, with the one that was easy to memorize is Surah Al-Qiyamah. Yeah, so Surah Al-Qiyamah was very easy relative to the others. Yeah, Surah Al-Qiyamah was very easy. And my favorite surah in the Quran is Surah Al-Duha, وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى مَا وَدَّعَكَ. I don't know, for some reason it is aesthetically pleasing to me. I like the rhythm and the message it contains. It reassures you as a mu'min, like after difficulty comes ease. So yeah, that was my that is my favorite surah in the Quran. And the difficult one to memorize was Surah. There are actually two surahs, Surah Muhammad and Surah Nisa.
Surah Nisa.
Yeah, Surah Muhammad and Surah Nisa.
Okay, so I think part of your answers contain chapters, or a chapter that you deemed or you regard as your favorite. And for me, if I was asked, even though I made mention that the whole Quran is my favorite, if I was asked what my favorite surah is, I would say Surah Al-Kawthar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. One of the most commonly asked questions again is, what or who inspired you guys to memorize the Quran? I think a couple of people have been asking, what might have inspired us to memorize the Quran against all the odds?
Okay. Well, I think this is a difficult one because growing up as a kid, I don't think I had an inspiration. It was more of like the decision of my parents to make me a hafiz of the Quran, because I was carried away by football, like playing activities. So growing up, like up until I was 18, that's when I began feeling motivated to become a hafiz of the Quran. So like I can't quite put my finger on what inspired me or who inspired me to become a memorizer of the Quran. But growing up as a kid, I've always find it fascinating seeing my colleague kids on the TV reciting the Quran. I've always wished to be them. So I think that I can say, if I ever had an inspiration to become a hafiz of the Quran, it is when like I see my colleague kid on the TV reciting the Quran.
To talk about what's inspired me to memorize the Quran, I think at the early stages I didn't have any motivation. I just wanted to become a footballer. I wanted to play football. I remember those times you'll be in the football park. My mom will come and call you. Hashim, she will come and call your name. And the rest of the kids will be saying, your mom has come, your mom has come. You would have to leave the football park and then go and take your kitab, and then you read the Quran. And just in the beginning, there was no motivation whatsoever. Let's say nothing inspired me. It was just being forced into it, sort of like you were asked to do it, so you have to do it. But when I went to Jina High School, I saw one man, his name is Amin. I was told he's a memorizer of the Quran, like he has memorized the entire Quran. I looked at this man and I was like, so this guy has the whole Quran in his head. I thought to myself that the head might have been heavy. I'm sure his head is very heavy, because for someone to have the whole Quran in his memory, the head has to be heavy. So whenever I see him, I wish I was like him. I wish I could recite the entire Quran from beginning to end without looking inside. So sort of, he was my inspiration. And that was, I think, at the time I had already memorized up to Surah Al-Furqan and all of that. Yes, I think that.
Okay.
So
that's it.
That's it.
Okay. Well, I think my next question sounds a lot like the question you just asked. And this question is commonly asked, it's mostly asked by people who are still in the memorizing journey. They would want to know what kept us motivated during our journey, like what keeps you want to continue memorizing the Quran.
What keeps you?
Like there has to be a drive that
keeps you going.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say like the joy after you had finished one chapter. Just imagine like a particular chapter bullied you to some extent, you try as much as you can to get it right, and then finally you got it. And then the joy in it. And then the joy wanting to continue. Let's say, I don't know how to put it, but like you are done, let's say with Surah Al-Fatiha, example. And then the joy of wanting to add another chapter, and then another chapter, then another chapter.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's, for me personally, that's what kept me going. And then even at the time we started memorizing, we weren't told what possibly could be the rewards for people who have memorized the Quran. Let's say the regard with which Allah would have for them. So for me at the time, I think it was just the joy in wanting to memorize more and more and more and more. But now, if I am asked the reason why I want to keep reading the Quran, I think I can list 1,001 reasons why I would want to continue.
Fair enough. So for me, my answer on that is quite different. There is a saying that motivation gets you started, and discipline gets you going. So even as someone who has the highest drive to memorize the Quran, to become a hafiz of the Quran, there are times you won't feel motivated, or you won't have the drive to learning the Quran. If you're going to wait for yourself to be motivated, you're going to find yourself in endless cycle of procrastination. Always you're going to be procrastinating. So I think discipline is the most important thing. Reciting the Quran even when you don't feel like reciting it, that's what keeps you going, or that's what makes you a memorizer of the Quran, not motivation. Because motivation is ephemeral. It doesn't last, and not everyone feels motivated.
Some people have been asking, I think this question we've answered it over and over and over again, but it looks like, I don't know if these people are new followers of ours. They keep asking. Some people are saying we're from Nigeria, some people are saying we're from Senegal. Yesterday I saw a particular comment that says we're from Sudan. So some people are asking where we're from.
Yeah, so you answer that.
No,
I think we are from Ghana, specifically the northern parts of Ghana, which is Tamale, and we are Dagbani speaking people. We are from the Dagumba tribe. And we can see a word or two of Dagbani, so people can Kawela. Yeah, so we are from the north, and yeah.
Alright, so it's
from Ghana. Okay, so a lot of people have asked me as to whether reciting the Quran with melody, with tajweed or melody, is it something you learn or something you are natural? Is it gifted or something you can learn?
Well, I feel it is a combination of both. It entails both aspects of the question. There are some people, regardless of how much you try to copy the style, or let's say the melody of someone, you just cannot. So for you to be able to have the ability to copy, let's say I'm giving an example, to read like someone's melody, uses someone's melody. Like, it means you have a very good melody yourself. People with no, let's say, who are not naturally gifted with melody would be very difficult. It will be very difficult for them to be able to imitate someone's melody. So reciting the Quran with melody, I think you can learn it. But before you learn it, you have to be gifted. So I think it all boils down to a gift. Let's say it is just a thing of nature, a gift of nature. If you are gifted with a very good melody, you can be able to learn anything.
Okay.
Because I know people like a couple of my friends, they want to read like some famous reciters,
but they just can't.
They just can't, no matter how much they try. Another question that I find people asking very often is, are we friends or are we brothers or we twins? Who are we?
Okay. So yeah, I think it is a hybrid of a lot of things. We are best friends, we are brothers,
We are twins.
and yeah, we are twins. Yeah, so we are birthed by the same parents. Another question is, I'm not sure people have asked this question, but it is a question I've been longing to ask you. Who is your favorite reciter?
Well, I think I have many favorite reciters. Anybody who can recite the Quran is my favorite. But like, I think I have a couple of people that I really like. One of them is Matrud. I like Matrud. I like Minshawi. And then I like Abdul Basit. These are my three favorite.
For me, I think my favorite reciter, it has to be between Abdul Basit and Minshawi. I've always been fascinated by their ability to recite for a very long period of time. Yeah.
Inshallah, we have been able to ask a couple of the questions that are frequently been asked by
Some of you.
some of our followers. And what happens is that this will not be the end of it. We're going to keep, let's say, trying to answer some of the questions you might have in the next couple of videos, inshallah.
And if we haven't covered your question, if there is a question you have about us and we haven't been able to cover it, you can please comment that on this video below, and inshallah the next video or the next time we are going to do an episode such as this one, we will include it, inshallah.
I think that's all of it for now.
Yeah.
And we would like to say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.